What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about the final update for early access to campaign or zombies within Black Ops 6. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like. I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in to today's episode of the Bombshell Podcast. You can listen to every episode on any major audio platform of your choice, and of course, every episode is available through the public Bombshell playlist here on the channel. Really appreciate all the love there. There is so much to discuss when it comes to Season 6, and of course, the upcoming full release of Black Ops 6. But with that, the team is also hard at work over at detonated.com, keeping you guys up to date with all things Call of Duty. There will be a lot of coverage posted over there, especially with the release of The Haunting on September the 18th. With that out the way though, in the past couple of years for Call of Duty, we have seen two instances of campaign early access. We saw this first with Modern Warfare 2 a few years ago, and then again around a year later for MW3. Now, what I also expect is, despite Black Ops 6 not having early access to the campaign, which we're going to circle back to in a bit, we'll probably still end up seeing some type of rewards added in for completing certain levels and for completing the entire single player experience. These rewards could range from operator skins to blueprints and other cosmetics like calling cards, emblems, maybe even some sprays and gestures, since those are back in Black Ops 6, maybe even a couple XP tokens here and there as well, which could obviously help some folks out there who are like, hey, I want to play campaign, but I also don't want to fall too behind with my weapon level grinding or my camo unlocks. They'll give you some tokens to go ahead and use to kind of put towards that grind, but we'll end up covering Black Ops 6 campaign rewards if those exist in the coming weeks, of course. But campaign early access for both MW2 and 3 did release an exact week before the full game did. So people out there, whether you're a content creator, whether you're a casual gamer, or even a hardcore grinder, you had about a week to fully play through the single player campaign, get all the achievements, and do whatever you want in all the missions before having to worry about other game modes like multiplayer or special ops, even zombies, that would release with the full launch. Now, a good, I want to say almost a year ago now, Windows Central did report that apparently Activision was considering up to several weeks of early access to the upcoming zombies mode. Now, nothing over the last couple of months has suggested that Activision is going to allow players to jump into Black Ops 6 Zombies a week or two before the full launch of the game on October 25th. My original theory was that, okay, maybe they'll replace campaign early access this year with some type of zombies early access, so maybe since there's two round-based maps, you'd be able to play one of those a good week or two before the release, and then when the game fully releases, you get the other round-based map on top of campaign and multiplayer. We obviously had early campaign gameplay premiere during the Gamescom event several weeks ago, and there was no mention of campaign early access during that event, nor is there any mention of it over at COD Next. Now, my other theory was that maybe that rumor Windows Central heard a good while ago was something that was discussed early on, but never conceptualized into an actual pre-order bonus or any type of special edition offering. Maybe they also heard rumors that, yeah, they were going to do some type of alpha/beta playtest of BO6 Zombies before the full game would come out, and maybe they misinterpreted as some type of early access offering for what we thought was going to be Liberty Falls. That ended up turning into the early alpha/beta test of Liberty Falls that we did get over at COD Next with select content creators. Now, I also want to slide this in here because I saw a lot of comments about this even over the last couple of days following the statement from Activision. People were pointing out that on the PlayStation and Xbox stores, I think this has since been updated, there was a mention about being able to play the game on October 17th, which sparked up additional conversations in the community, hence why I'm making this video, since again, a week before the launch of MW2 and 3, you also saw campaign early access. So some folks definitely had some hope still that something along the lines of early access campaign or Liberty Falls would be announced relatively soon, considering that October 17th date, but it looks like that was just a placeholder and just some type of estimate from Sony and Microsoft. Didn't actually mean anything, and until further notice, that date just doesn't reflect any type of content drop. What's really interesting now is Activision/Treyarch, one of the two, has finally broke silence on this matter and did provide a statement to the press a couple of days ago. So the official statement is the team is fully focused on October 25th. We are excited about all the game has to offer across campaign, MP, and zombies. This year we made the decision to ensure the community gets to dig in any and all modes that they want at the same time, so we are back to one massive global launch moment on October 25th. As such, there is no early access beat this year for Black Ops 6, just the countdown to launch. So that is the official statement from Activision, right? And I do think that this decision is pretty big, considering that a Treyarch Call of Duty has never experienced any type of campaign early access. We've only seen that offering for 2 Modern Warfare games in a row. show from Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer respectively, I think it would be cool to at least give Treyarch one opportunity to have an offering like this, just so folks could jump into what is about to be a pretty narrative-rich and gameplay-rich single player that I know Cold War offered back in 2020, and there are still so many people to this day that didn't get to experience the Cold War campaign when it first came out, or even at all, since they never really made time for a single player experience, considering they're probably grinding multiplayer, zombies, or even Warzone. Now, also considering if you're a zombies player that maybe likes campaign, you're probably going to be really busy with 2 round-based maps, not 1 but 2 this year on October 25th, to the point where you probably won't even jump into campaign maybe at all. Now, something I was thinking about is that this does affect both grinders and even casuals in about the same way. So if you're somebody out there that really loves to grind the content within the game, hit max level, unlock all the camos, you may feel what we call FOMO, the fear of missing out, if let's say you take a day or two after the game releases and you just focus on campaign before jumping into multiplayer and zombies, so you might not end up playing campaign at all. Or if you're one of those people that really wants to have everything maxed out and have all your camos unlocked before the Warzone integration in Season 1, then you probably won't want to waste a day also playing the single player. But the thing is, at least the way I see it, I don't think sacrificing a day is really all that big a deal, and if anything, really helps you appreciate the entire game for what it is. You get to really immerse yourself in the environment and the storyline. You get to get familiar with more of the characters and really understand what weapons are probably the best before even jumping into a PvP mode. Now, as a content creator, I could also see where people get upset, because I think if you're somebody that either covers everything or even just focuses on one game mode in Call of Duty, you probably want to have that campaign early access to make sure you have plenty of time to stream and create content on all the single player levels before worrying about falling behind with all the content that's being offered in the live service part of Call of Duty, which is of course multiplayer and then zombies, eventually Warzone. But the thing is, I'll say this, right? I've absolutely loved covering campaign over the last couple of years, and I plan to do it again first with my Black Ops 6 coverage, so I'll sacrifice a bit of zombies time, because I'm sure by the time I finish the single player, there will be some content to jump into that's already solved for both round-based maps, so by then I wouldn't have missed too much. But I'm kind of worried that eventually campaign just won't exist if the player numbers just keep decreasing, and I feel like early access really ensures there's a lot of people out there that will jump into that single player, at least within the first week of it coming out, which I think in turn looks good for Call of Duty, right? It makes sure that there's a lot of players jumping into like the core and foundation of the game before endlessly jumping into multiplayer and the third mode for the rest of the year. Like, I can't even imagine what the numbers may look like for a game such as Black Ops that offers zombies day one and is round based. I can't even imagine the amount of people that are like, yeah, I love to play campaign, but I'm just gonna choose not to because there's too much going on in the other game modes. Now, it's definitely worth theorizing why this decision was made for Black Ops 6. I think a lot of it is probably in part due to what happened with Modern Warfare 3 last year. The campaign got absolutely review bombed, and I would say it was probably the weakest of the 3 Modern Warfare rebooted campaigns. I think most people will probably say that, but if Modern Warfare 3 is one of those reasons, like, I understand from a business standpoint why they've now kind of walked back on the idea of early access single player for Black Ops 6. I totally get that, but I can't even imagine a Black Ops campaign, especially being led by Raven, since they absolutely crushed it with Cold Wars. I can't even imagine a campaign in a Black Ops game getting review bombed anywhere near what we saw with MW3 last year. So to me, it's a little unfair that Black Ops 6 isn't going to have that opportunity for all players out there who love playing campaign, but it's not the end of the world either, because I think what you'll end up seeing is folks definitely jump into MP and zombies first, but maybe they'll take a moment before Season 1 releases to be like, hey, I'm going to take a Saturday or a Sunday to just play through that 7 to 9 hour campaign. We're not sure how long it is, but it's been compared to a traditional length Call of Duty single player. So I'm sure folks that do care are still going to jump in, even if it's not during the launch week after October 25th. Now, I think there's also absolutely the possibility that Microsoft may have also changed the idea of campaign early access for Call of Duty. Once they acquired Activision, they might have said, hey, we're trying to get Call of Duty on Game Pass as soon as possible, and yeah, we got MW3, and eventually Black Ops 6 will be on Game Pass. So with all of that in mind, maybe they just couldn't figure out a way to say, hey, if you also are subscribed to Game Pass, you'll get early access to campaign. Maybe they'll try that eventually, but just didn't want to this year for Black Ops 6. They want to see how things could work out with people subscribing to Game Pass for the full launch on October the 25th. They did, however, offer access to the multiplayer beta, the early access period, if you were subscribed to Game Pass during weekend 1. Now, I also want to bring up the fact that every so often I constantly get comments asking about a zombies beta. Will there be some type of early access to zombies, and I was getting comments like that before that rumor even came out from Windows Central about a new Black Ops game potentially having early access by a few weeks to a new zombies mode. I always see comments about this, and I want to say I probably see them the most whenever there's a multiplayer beta going on. A lot of folks suggesting that, oh, there should be some type of period for zombies players to jump into something, even if it's like just a starting room or an onslaught. And hey, I'm with you, right? As a big zombies fan, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that in the future, but looking at the way that the community responded to the Liberty Falls early gameplay showcase at COD Next, I'm almost glad that there isn't some type of early access period for Liberty Falls this year, because the way I see it, right, the point of a zombies beta or the point of some type of early showcase at an event like Next is just to emphasize a little bit of what you're going to be expecting when the full mode comes out, but not everything. Like I said before, at my Liberty Falls session over in DC, they didn't let us customize gobblegums, we had no access to augments, and every quest was disabled on the map, so we were pretty much seeing some bare bones gameplay of just omni movement on a new round-based map, and that's probably exactly what would be playable in a zombies beta, even if they did the same thing for Terminus, right, where they just let us explore the map a little bit with no real quests you can do besides, let's say, Pack-a-Punch. I still feel like you'd get the same sentiment and the same response from most of the echo chambers in the community. Oh, it's boring, there's not much substance, because somehow people forget that they confirmed to us that everything is turned off. It is just an early gameplay showcase, not a full preview of the entire launch experience, so I almost feel like it's redundant to even do anything more than an early gameplay showcase at an event. If not that, then nothing at all is probably also best to avoid a controversy like what we just saw with Liberty Falls, right? Everybody was in love with what they saw with Terminus, everybody loved the information that was presented in the big zombie blog post a few weeks back, but once they saw that HUD at COD Next, and once they saw there was nothing really to do on Liberty Falls, the hate poured in. So it's like, what do you expect from a zombies beta anyway? It's almost a good thing that isn't happening this time around here for Black Ops 6. But without going off on another zombies tangent, I want to leave you guys with this. We're about to get a pretty traditional launch for Black Ops 6, which might just be what the franchise needs. I'm really curious to see how people divide their time up once the game does roll out. I'm curious what people end up playing first. Let me know down below in the comments as well what you plan on playing first. And in all honesty, it's gonna be really cool to see just that classic Call of Duty launch night, which we haven't really gotten in a little while, right? I mean, I guess Vanguard was technically the last game that offered something like that, where there was an alpha and beta for MP, but there was no access to campaign or zombies prior to launch. So I guess we're kind of going back to some 2021 vibes, but with the amount of content of Black Ops 6, this is probably going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest launch in about a decade. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. It's probably about to be the biggest launch for COD since, I want to say, Black Ops 3. I mean, maybe even BO4 if you're comparing it to zombies as far as content goes. There's going to be a lot to unravel in a single night alone. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on Activision finally breaking silence on the fact that there isn't any type of early access for campaign or zombies? Which mode are you going to play first, and which mode do you think should have had type of early access before October 25th? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.